I've been getting tons of questions from international students about how they should be preparing for the new digital SAT, especially the reading and writing section, which looks far different than what we've seen from the old SAT. So in this video, we're going to do an overview of the reading and writing section, the different question types that appear, what content and concepts you need to understand to be able to get those different questions right, which ones are going to be the easiest for you to improve on, how you can best make use of the resources that Collegeboard has put out, as well as what other resources, especially how you can actually use some old SATs to still help you prepare for the new version of the test, and a whole lot more. Now, if this video helps you out, please like and subscribe. If you guys have any other questions around digital SAT, drop them in the comments as you're watching through the video. All right, so let's start with an overview here. Now, the new digital SAT reading and writing section is going to be made up of 2 modules. Each module is going to give you 27 questions and you're going to have 32 minutes to answer them. But there's going to be 2 hidden questions throughout which you won't be able to detect that are actually experimental or pre-test questions which will not count towards your score. So in total, you're only going to get 50 questions that will count towards your score across the 2 modules. Now, the new digital SAT is also an adaptive test. This means how you do on the first module is going to affect the difficulty of the second module that you will get. If you do really well here, you're going to get the harder second module. If you don't do so well, you're going to get the easier second module. But what this also means is this first module can very heavily determine your overall score. If you don't do very well here, you are going to be capped going into the second module. Now, both modules are made up of these exact same 4 categories. Now, these categories and what the SAT says they are testing you on can be really confusing to make sense of, so we're going to break these down in a lot easier ways of understanding, and we're going to actually start with the one at the bottom, which is your standard English conventions. Now, your standard English conventions, which make up right around a quarter of your digital SAT reading and writing section, is going to be the easiest place for you to prepare yourself for the new digital SAT. These are the exact same grammar rules, the exact same patterns, the exact same presentations. Once you learn the rules, all of these questions are really black and white in terms of what makes them right versus wrong. And the grammar rules you really simply need to learn are your clauses, your sentence structure rules, your fragments, your commas, your colons, your dashes, your apostrophes, your semicolons with a new heavier emphasis on semicolon lists, your pronouns, your verbs with an emphasis on subject-verb agreement, your misplaced modifiers, and your parallel structure. You can use all resources from old SAT to prepare for this new one, and you can even use all of those grammar questions from old practice SATs to prepare yourself for the new digital SAT. This is all the exact same stuff I taught in my old course, so I've put together a new slimmed down version for the digital SAT if you want to learn those grammar rules, but any old grammar resource for the old SAT will be able to prepare you for the new digital SAT standard English convention questions. All right, next let's talk about expressions of the ideas. This is going to be the next easiest place for you to prepare yourself because a lot of these questions are going to be transition questions, which are no different than they were on the old SAT. You just need to make sure you understand how the different transitions are used and you understand the context in the sentence. But besides that, there's nothing which is holding you back from preparing for these. Once again, old SAT resources, including those I've put together in the past, can help you, and you can even just go through old writing and language sections and do tons of transition questions there to give yourself good practice for these. Now, what is new is these student note questions, but these questions are actually far more straightforward than they look. The really important part is simply to answer the question. Don't start involving information in the notes if it doesn't relate to what is being asked in the question. If you do that, you're going to start to see that the answer choices are pretty black and white in terms of right and wrong. All right, now let's talk about the craft and structure part of the reading and writing section. Now, the first question type here is going to be our word and context questions, which are really similar to the old SAT, but the level of vocab difficulty has definitely been stepped up a notch. So this is a place that for many students, they're going to need to spend time memorizing and learning vocab words, maybe learning some prefixes and suffixes to help them be able to better understand the general meanings of words. But this is something I'm in the process of putting together a list for. In the description below, you can sign up for free digital SAT emails where I'll just send you out free helpful resources as more stuff gets posted online and I compile resources. So if you'd like to get that vocab list, just sign up below. Now, the next type of question we'll see are purpose questions. these are going to be broken up into two slightly different types of questions. The first is going to be about the main purpose of a mini part of the passage. Now, outside of the practice tests that the SAT has put out, you could still use purpose questions from old writing and language sections to get great practice with these. It's the exact same skills, all the same types of right and wrong answers as well. Now, the next type that we'll see are your more specific purpose questions. These are going to be about what a specific sentence is doing in the context of the mini passage. The really important thing here is to not just explicitly restate what that sentence is saying, but think about how it's functioning in the whole passage. You may need to read through the passage more than once to be able to understand exactly what's happening here. And now the newest part of the test is going to be these cross-text questions. These are going to be where you're going to have two different passages, and the authors are going to be responding to the other author in some way. They may be supporting, they may be arguing. The really important thing here, make sure you're answering the question, make sure you are understanding each author's argument, and make sure you are finding the part of text where one author directly responds to one statement in the other author. This is also a place, as I'm posting more and more walkthroughs of the released digital SATs, I would strongly recommend watching the process as I work through those, because if this is a place you're struggling with, that should really help you out a lot. All right, now let's talk about information and ideas questions, our last subtype of question for the reading and writing section. Now, the most straightforward ones are going to be main idea questions and detail questions. These are just going to be testing you on the ability to basically restate exactly what is in the text, either in terms of what the whole passage says or a small part of the passage says. Here's a pro tip. If you see according to the text, according to the passage, you are just being asked for explicit information in there. Do not start adding details that you think maybe you could prove. It has to be defendable based on the passage. Now, your charts and graphs questions, I've only gone through the first 3 of the tests so far. I've yet to miss any questions though. And a really simple pattern I've noticed, which has let me start working through those way faster, is that you want to check if the answer choices are true given the chart or graph before you check if it is true in how it supports whatever you're looking for in the passage. That's the easiest way to start eliminating some answer choices. Now, your inference questions, the same way they were on the old SAT, are the most difficult type of questions you'll get on the new reading portion and writing portion of the new SAT. These are going to be questions around what would prove or disprove hypotheses. This is where you really need to understand the text well to understand what would be a logical inference versus what would be an illogical inference. I can't go through all those details in this video or I'd be sitting here talking forever. But if you start taking the practice test and you're really critically examining what's making answer choices right versus wrong, you're going to start to pick up a lot of these patterns. Now, there's not a lot of resources out there for the digital SAT currently, so let's talk about how you can best make use of the official ones out there. Khan Academy has some questions, so I would definitely start by going through those. Then there are 4 Blue Book tests and there's 4 non-adaptive tests. There's some overlap, so we want to start with the Blue Book tests, and what I would recommend doing is starting with SAT practice test number 1. I've already done a walkthrough for it. I didn't miss any questions, so after you finish that test, you can watch explanations to all of the questions. You're going to start to learn some of the strategies and the thought process, which is going to help you get them right. Now, also, because this is an adaptive test, you're going to only have seen one of the possible 2 second modules for the reading and writing section and the math section. So I would go back and I'd create a second Collegeboard account so that you can intentionally fill in the answers, which are going to give you the other module to give you more practice. Now, once you've done that as well, once again, create that big list and spend some time studying and using the resources to help you improve. For the math, it's really no different than the old SAT math. So all of those current old SAT resources and old SAT math sections are great practice for those. I'm just making some small tweaks and question type updates to my math book, and I should have that done in around a month. But until then, all old SAT math resources are still going to be great out there. You also just want to make sure you're comfortable with Desmos, but I'll be posting some videos on how to use that to solve a lot of the questions around systems of equations, inequalities, factoring questions a lot easier using Desmos. Now, after you do that, work through the next practice test and kind of rinse and repeat. Once you've gone through those 4, then I would use the nonlinear ones as your last resource as you close it on test day, because you're going to get some overlap of questions you've already seen, as well as some new questions that did not appear on those Blue Book tests. Now, I hope this video has helped you out, answered a lot of your questions. If you'd like to see more helpful digital SAT resources, Please do sign up for my email below. I'll be sending out a lot of free resources as more stuff comes out and more practice tests are created. So sign up for that. Otherwise, if you guys have any questions at all, drop them in the comments. Otherwise, just leave a like and subscribe if you aren't already so you can get more helpful digital SAT videos.